Hello and welcome back to our final anniversary box reveal video for the support cards. We do still have the Power Wish stuff to go over, but this is our final color as we look at black and see what new tools we can get brought. And oh boy, this one is near and dear to my heart. I don't play a lot of black, honestly. You know, there are cool decks out there, but this time we got one of my favorites. Let's take a look at them. So, who's getting support? My baby. This is a PSA 10 Towa Chaos Bringer that I have owned since like 2020. I love her. Look at her. She's so cool. This was my first competitive deck in Dragon Ball, so this one is really near and dear to me and what being a competitor is really all about. So I love her very much. And then we got Cumber, who I think is really cool. As the person I shared my collection with typically played all the black decks, so I didn't really get to touch this one a whole lot, but super cool stuff. I think that he's really cool. I mean, look at him. He's huge, right? Like, the servant mechanic is really cool. Being able to use those is just a really neat way to do it. So very, very, very excited to see how these go, and let's get into them. So she's back. My sweet baby has returned. Towa, Greater Chaos. It's a Z leader. That was not what I was expecting. It's just a 1/1 Z leader, which is honestly pretty good. It's nothing crazy. Activate main, place one card from your hand at the bottom of your deck, draw two, which is really nice that you can put back your 7-cost Miras when you've drawn them, which is really, really important. Likewise, Chaos Bringer doesn't draw on the backside, so having a real draw power is a big deal. I wish she was a 20k. She is just a 15, which is a little disappointing, but honestly, that's okay. Activate main for 2, play up to 1 black mirror with an energy cost of 4 from your hand, and remove this card from the game. So that would be things like this new Mirror Dark Empire technology. That would be things like Reformation. And so because it is specifically of a cost of 4, you can't really do like the old Overrealm or the TP Overrealm. Those just don't really work with this, but honestly, you typically want to be playing these other ones anyway because they are really strong cards, and they also have free Union Absorbs. So Mira Limitless Power. This is our new boss monster. It's not necessarily better than Creator Absorbed. It's kind of more something you would run in tangent with Creator Absorb. It has 3 total effects. So for Activate Main, limit 1. If your leader's backside is Towa Chaos Bringer and you discard this card, you get to play a Towa with an energy cost of 1 from your deck. And then you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the owner's warp. This helps you turbo into your Awaken. Unfortunately, you are like a very slow. If you have 10 or more cards in the warp, then you can Awaken, which is normally like at best turn 3 if you like discarded an extra card and you overwhelmed 3 times. That would be how you got there. It's like, that's really, really crazy. It's really slow, but this will help speed that up. Likewise, you also just get to activate main, pay 1 to play out the Towa from your deck. So this is 8 copies now of a 1-cost Towa, which is really, really nice. You don't necessarily have to run more Towa 1-drops. You can just go ahead and play this card. It's entirely searchable by the front side of your leader, so that's really sweet. It's a 7-cost Mira, so it works with all of your effects. It's a barrier blocker here, and then finally, when it's played, your opponent sends 1 card from their hand to the warp, and then this card gains plus 5,000 for each card in your warp until the end of your opponent's turn. Typically, that means this thing is probably going to go to like 80k. And that's really sweet. Going to like 80,000 as a barrier blocker is really huge if you wanted to play things like Zarbon to be really defensive, or if you didn't want to do that, it's like an 80,000 power attacker. Just having more names for the 7-cost Mira is really, really important, and really, this card is just really good. It's going to help turbo your Awaken. It's another target for that, and then it is just activate main for 2 black to play it from your hand. Not bad. Then we got Mira Dark Empire technology. This is the new Mira with Union Absorb. So permanent, if your leader is the Greater Chaos Z leader, you can go ahead and reduce the cost of this card in your hand by 1. So unfortunately, that does mean that if you aren't Z Awakened, it's going to cost you a lot, which is not great. But then auto, when it's played, bottom 1, draw 2, send one of your opponent's battle cards to the warp. A little bit of removal, which is really useful. The old Self-Reformation card is a double strike 20k, but as opposed to like definitely getting a +2, right? Filtering cards and then sending one of your opponent's cards to the warp. Definitely going to go with this instead. And then Union Absorb if your leader is a Towa or an Android and you place a Towa from your warp under this card. Play up to 1 mirror with an energy cost 7 from your deck on top of it in active mode. So, assuming that you're not playing against blue with like Shu Pilaf Mai or a Battle Trick or something, you can go ahead and swing with this card, get a 20k attack off, and then go for the Union Absorb to be able to go into Creator Absorb or this new Limitless Power. You can also go into Assault from the Skies, but generally you're going to go for Creator Absorb because turns out rip 3 cards and then be like an Infinity Double Strike is pretty good. So that's really, really sweet. I'm mostly impressed by these cards just with how much they're going to help her. Is she going to be viable? No, let's be real. She's really far behind. I mean, this is a 2019 leader who has had 0 effective support other than getting like, oh, we have a mirror that draws a card now, so your leader can search for that. This card, you know, she searches for the Fu 8-drop. Like, that's not actual support. That's just cards that happen to have good names for her to search out, right? She's still a leader that draws 1 on the front side and then doesn't draw on the back side. She has a little bit of a slower awaken. The fact that she is a Towa and the Mirror Chain is really good because it just rips apart your opponent's hand is really sweet. But it's still not going to be quite enough to really bring her back into contention. I'm sure I'll put out a deck profile with her because, I mean, come on. PSA 10, baby. This is my baby. Love you. All right. Now we'll turn our heads to the cards that we actually know can make an impact on the meta. Cumber. These are really, really good. I think the Cumber 2 cost is probably the best one, but the Z extra is also really good. So I think we'll go ahead and start there. Activate main battle if your leader is the Cumber, and you add up to 1 card from your life to your hand. You get to reduce the Z energy and energy cost on your Z Awaken by 1, which is unbelievable. Being able to self-awaken puts you in a position where now you can have a low enough life total for it. And then this deck was really, really bad that, like, when it wanted to go off on a later turn, it would cost a ton to produce its boss monster. And for you to Z-Awaken was going to cost a lot of resources. But now on, like, turn 2 or 3, when you're a little bit up on energy, you can go ahead and make this Z extra, very similar to the Bardock one, and save yourself that energy later. Activate main battle if your leader's the Cumber Z leader. So notice that this card doesn't remove itself from the game when you do that effect, so this is just in play and it works. All of your opponent's battle cards have a total of 3 or more keywords, and you remove this card from the game, choose one of your Cumber cards and switch it to active mode. Notably, this includes your leader, so you can switch up your leader and go, alright, now I get another draw and I combo with 2 more cards. Very, very, very stupid. Really impressed by this. I think that it's a card that is going to really up the playability of the Z leader. So if you have a big amount of money and a hole in your pocket, play that World's leader. Do what you can. It's going to be broken. And then Cumber becoming the strongest. This card is the sleeper good one. So the Fu Z battle card that the deck relies on has an ability to pay 1 black to play out a 2-cost Cumber from underneath it, and this is one of those cards. Activate main limit 1, you can go ahead and place this under that Fu Z battle card to search top 7 for Cumber. Unfortunately, it doesn't search for Evil Saiyans, which would be the more important name to be able to grab, just because super combos and the 1 costs are in that effect. But being able to search Cumber is still really good. So you can go ahead and play this card. It is a servant. It has 15k power, so it goes up to 25, and then you can go ahead and use your effects to bottom deck it. And that's really, really important. And then finally, activate main for a black if your leader is a black Cumber and you have 3 or more energy. You just get to play the boss monster right on top of this card, which is insane. Normally that card waited until your opponent had 3 or more energy and you paid 2, which this will still pay 2 because it's 1 from the Fu and 1 to play this. But the fact that you can produce your boss monster sooner, as well as the fact that you can then get its effects off just really quickly, very, very cool. I'm really liking this card. I think that it's an extremely good consistency booster to the deck, as well as then it just ups the aggression from the deck, because it's effectively a free play for 1, right? Like, it replaces itself with its immediate effect, and then you can just play it from underneath the Fu for 1. Very good stuff. And then finally, we have the giant Great Ape Cumber, Gigantic Combatant. This is the first time that we have the Great Ape in the Cumber deck, as opposed to playing the Secret Rare and Fu. Activate main for a black. If you have 3 or more energy or leader of the Cumber and you get rid of a non-Great Ape Cumber, you can go ahead and play this card from your hand. It's a pretty solid body. 30k is nice. There's no keyword on it, which is a little unfortunate. But when he attacks, you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards with a keyword skill, ignoring barrier, and use it in a combo. Everything has a keyword these days, whether it's deflect, unique, barrier, double strike, dual attack, whatever. Basically, everything always has a keyword. There's going to be a really awesome place to just go, all right, this gets to remove stuff. If you switch it to active mode using like Manifestation Frenzy, it's another combo piece, ignoring barrier. So really good black removal there. Finally, activate main. If you place this card in the owner's drop area, play up to 1 black Fu with an energy cost of 4 or 5 from your deck or drop. Shuffle your deck, and that card gains barrier until the end of your opponent's turn. I think this card that effect is really underrated. Both of the Fu cards are really good that have Overlord. Being able to get that additional draw is really sweet, especially because since they're going to gain barrier for a turn cycle, they're more likely to get 2 draws off instead of just the 1. One of the Fus also gains control over your opponent's cards. Really sweet stuff. Overall, Cumber does seem like it's getting a very big buff. The fact that you can go into the Z leader is really sweet. I'm really impressed by the fact that you can go into the boss monster a little bit sooner. When you're on 3 energy is really the time when you would want to play out your first real card. Having to wait until your opponent's at 3 can sometimes put you a little far behind. But Cumber still has a lot of the best tools in the game. The 7-drop Cumber is really, really broken. The fact that these names are Cumber means that that card is even more live than it was before. Playing out these new Fus is really, really effective, right? Especially using this Great Ape Cumber. If you just think about, like, the effectiveness of pay 1 for the Cumber, it kills something, ignore barrier, 25 double strike. Pop that Cumber to play the Great Ape. The Great Ape is going to play a Fu. Great Ape swings, combos a card. Fu's going to bottom deck a card with Servant. You get to draw. You're going to get to draw another card off of that Fu. The Fu is going to be an attacker, which can either be, I think it's a 20k crit or just a 15k outright. Either one of those is really good. There's a lot to love here. Cumber's in a really good position already. It was already like a decent black deck. Things like Petrification really keep black in the game right now. And so I'd love to see if this deck can really get pushed into the meta, because Towa's probably not going to get there. But Cumber honestly has a pretty good chance. So I'd really love to see that happen. Servant is cool. Servant's a really sweet keyword, and giving your opponent Servant is really, really sweet. I hope you guys can make that push, and I'll see you next time.